Hey guys, it's Will. Now, what we're going to cover in this video are the core building blocks of a high converting VSL. Okay, now just to add a caveat, you don't need to use all of these in order, okay, and you also don't need to use them all either. I just want to make that very clear. These are the most common building blocks, and as you watch, well, any VSL, I mean, my old WB trading VSL that you're going to see later in the training, the VSL scripts that I write for other clients, the one that we're going to cover in the video right after this, what you're going to start to pick up on are these elements, right? And you're going to start to, when we've covered these in just a second, you're going to start to see them. You're going to start to hear them. They're going to start to stand out to you when you watch other people's VSLs. And you're going to keep thinking, oh, that's that part that Will covered. And, oh yeah, that's that part that Will covered in the building blocks, right? So when you know these, this is going to give you just such a great foundation for writing VSLs. So let's get stuck into them. Okay, so these are the core building blocks. And again, don't have to use them in order. Don't have to use them all. Okay. So one of the core building blocks of a high converting VSL is this, calling out the ideal viewer. What you do here is you call out your ideal avatar. You be as detailed as possible. For example, you might say, if you're someone who is struggling with their trading, who's losing money, then keep watching, because then you go to the next pillar, the next building block. Right? So you call out who should be watching and sometimes who shouldn't. Another building block is making a big promise without a time limitation. So here you make them a big promise whilst also telling them how long it will take you to explain everything. And ideally, you're doing so in a short amount of time. So for example, you might say, in the next 7 minutes, I'm going to share with you the core elements of building a great online fitness company. All right. Or in the next 9 minutes, I'm going to reveal to you how you can get six-pack abs in 3 weeks. Okay. Another core building block is establishing authority. So here, you'd establish your authority by saying something like, my name is LeBron James, and I have been one of the #1 basketball players on planet Earth. I've played for this basketball team. I've won this award over the last 2 decades. Right. Or my name is James Steele, and I am one of the top management consultants in the world. I've worked for X company. I've worked for Y company. I've been featured on the news, the television, the radio, whatever. Right. So you just establish who you are and your background and credibility. Okay. Next, you might make a big claim and explain why you. So here, you're making a big claim and you're explaining why you are able to deliver it. So for example, you might say, I am able to be the best golfer in the world, right? Because big claim, big promise, right? So for example, because I know, have been, have done, have experienced X, Y, Z. So you might say something like, now, the reason that I am able to so confidently share my trading strategies with you is because I've worked at one of the largest hedge funds on planet Earth called XYZ in Manhattan, in New York, on Wall Street, whatever. Okay. And I have been there during some of the biggest market crashes that have ever occurred. I've come out the other side, and on, right? So a big claim, and why you. I am able to sit with you here today on this short video and share with you the secrets to playing golf at the highest level possible, because as Tiger Woods, I've been there, I've done it, I've won the PGA Tour, I've done this, I've done that, right? Big claim, and why you? open a loop to keep them watching. So here, you open a loop to entice the viewer to keep watching. Now, this is one of my favorite things to do. I almost always do this when I write VSLs. And you might say something like this. And to map out the key steps that I've walked to become one of the best bodybuilders in the world, well, let me just get straight to the point because I know that your time is valuable. So what have you done there? You've hinted at what's to come, and then you've drawn back and moved back into the story. Very, very powerful. Now, the next building block that I want to share with you is this. So, authority figures to back up your claims. And here, if you can, you'll share some authority figures to cement your claims, if it's appropriate. For some people it is, for others it's not. If it is, you might say this. And it's not just me that's doing this either, or it's not just me that's made this work or got this result. I've worked with world famous composers, I've worked with world famous footballers, and they've been able to do this for themselves as well. Right. This might actually be a part of my VSL, or a VSL that I write for myself in the future, because I've worked with world famous footballers, I've worked with world famous composers, I've worked with world famous influencers and bodybuilders, right? So that's something that I would put in one of my VSLs. I would say, right, I've worked with, you know, this person and that person and this person. So if they're doing it, you should too, right? Another building block is urgency. So here, you're going to create urgency. For example, you might say, but this window of opportunity won't last forever, and the doors are quickly closing. This is a brand new discovery, and others will pile on as they discover this for themselves in the coming weeks and months. You must act now. Again, I'm a big fan of urgency. A few different ways to do this, but that is one of the main ways to do it. And again, you'll find that in 8 out of 10 VSLs that I write, urgency plays a big part. Another big part is proof. So here, you'll prove to them it's worked for you and for others, and that it can work for them too. Now, you're going to share things like just unarguable stuff. Bank statements, press articles, testimonials, video footage, footage from events, screenshots of WhatsApp messages, Instagram messages, anything like that is really, really, really going to help you. Okay, guys, so if you have anything like that, maybe even all of it, that is going to go a long way to just make people feel comfortable going forwards, right? Another thing is third-party credibility. So here, you'll share third-party credibility with them. For example, you might say, there is a reason that I, right, or my trading company has been featured in Yahoo Finance. I've been interviewed by leading hedge fund manager. I've had articles written about me on leading trading website, right? And you can just pop that in there within the VSL. And again, it's like proof, but it's a lot more subtle, okay? Because if you've been on ABC News in person in the studio, there's something special about you, right? Or if you've been in, you know, Forbes magazine, it's very substantial. It says that you're successful without saying that you're successful, right? Now, another great thing to do is this: preempting objections and know-it-alls. Now here, you'll preempt and remove the key objections that your viewers are likely to hold in mind. For example, you might say, and no, it has nothing to do with technical analysis, it has nothing to do with indicators, and this can be done without even reading the charts, without reading the news, without any guessing or predicting either. Or you might say, and by the way, when it comes to achieving six-pack abs in 8 weeks, it has nothing to do with cutting out alcohol, cutting out the burger, the chips that you love. It has nothing to do with going to the gym twice a day, 7 days a week. Plus, this can be done without even cutting your calories, right? Obviously, that's a ridiculous example, but that's what you're going to do. Because that's what people really want. And we're going to talk about this more in the next video, what people want and selling what people want. But that's a good example of that. Now, another building block is this: letting people in on a secret that only the elites know of. So here, you would show them how elite figures in your niche or market or industry have done it for themselves, or how it's worked for them or benefited them. So think millionaires, athletes, billionaires, executives, professionals, celebrities, and so on, right? So you might say something like this: did you know that when it comes to getting a six-pack in 6 weeks, this is how athletes do it before they take part in movies? This is how billionaires get in shape so damn fast. One minute you see them on the yachts and they're fat, and then fast forward to this film premiere and they've got a six-pack. This is how these people with money or with fame or whatever do this, right? And it's a secret that only they know because X, because Y, because Z, right? And again, you're subtly saying it's being done, it's real, it works, but you can't do it yet because this. Now I'm going to show you, finally, how to do it, right? Very, very powerful, guys. Very powerful. Another building block is this: sharing your story of discovery. So here, you'll explain how you stumbled on your niche, your market, or your solution. Remember, facts tell, but stories sell. So when someone listens to a story, they see themselves as the protagonist. They see themselves as the main person in the story. So it's really useful to tell a story that aligns your prospect with their current situation and ideal situation, right? So if you're selling to broke 9-to-5 people, when you tell your story, if possible, and obviously don't lie, right? But if possible, tell it in a way that aligns with them. So if you sell to broke, everyday 9-to-5 people, you may say, if it's appropriate, and again, please don't lie, you might say, I used to work at a 9-to-5. I used to work at McDonald's. I used to work washing cars. It was a 9-to-5 that I hated. It was soul crushing. And I was able to break away from that when I stumbled on X. When I stumbled on my solution, or the solution. When I stumbled on trading financial markets, or whatever, right? And that was the key turning point. That's when I discovered I could make money from home. I could make money from anywhere in the world with a computer and a laptop. I discovered I could live a life of freedom and control, and on, right? And if you relate it back to the people, they see themselves as you. Very, very powerful, guys. Okay? If you're able to do that, it will work very well. Another building block is this: widening the gap. So here, you'll widen the gap between where your prospect is now and where they want to get to. So for example, you might say, imagine this for a second. Imagine sitting on a beach in Bali, trading from your laptop with the sand in your toes, making $7, $9, $12, $15,000 a month. Lay your skepticism aside for a second and just imagine how that would feel. So that word is one of the most powerful words in the English language for triggering the mind. Just imagine this for a second. When you hear that, you imagine, right? And then when you share a story, again, people are pulled into the story and they really start to listen, pay attention, and dream. And it helps to widen the gap and get them thinking of where they want to go and where they will go with your help. Another building block is this. So, restating the big promise. So here, you're going to restate the main big promise that you're making to the prospect. So for example, you might say, that's why I've been able to become one of the best golf players on planet Earth in a very short amount of time, and why you can do it too. And you would pop that just within the script where it makes sense, right, to pop that in there. So it's not some big standout piece of the script, but you're just popping that in there to bring them back to why they're even watching, right? Another building block is this. So presenting the scarce opportunity. So here, you're going to present the opportunity. For example, you might say, look, but this is not going to last forever because markets change. Markets are cyclical. You've got to act now. These strategies provide an edge now. They may not provide an edge in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. This weight loss supplement works now because of the way that most diets function in the modern world. But diets change, right? And if you don't take action on this now, you may well lose out. And this dream that you've got, it may just remain a dream. You know what I mean, right? Another building block, sharing proof that it works. So here, you're going to share proof for a second time that it works to increase how complicit the viewers are and in turn how receptive they'll likely be when you make your first call to action. So for example, you might say, like I said earlier, this is by far the best and it's certainly the fastest way to get six-pack abs in just 6 weeks that is out there today. Because, explain. Okay. Another building block to share is this, the altruistic reason why. Now here, you'll give a reason, which can be almost anything by the way, as to why you're making this video and helping people with what you're helping them with. Now, when humans hear the word because, it causes the brain to automatically reduce skepticism. So for example, you might say, and if you're wondering why I'm doing this, it's only because I've made all the money that I ever wanted or needed, right? And therefore, I'm in a position to give back and help people who are where I used to be. The reason I'm making this is because, look, I've got all the money in the world and I've now got all the time and the freedom in the world. And in my opinion, what better way to use that freedom and time than to help other struggling people, stuck people, hurting people, people in a difficult situation, to get out of it and to solve it. That is why I'm doing this, to help you. So if you're one of those people, you're in the right place. Okay? Next is this, future pacing. So here, you future pace the prospect's desires, causing them to focus on what they'll achieve by working with you or investing in your product or service. For example, you might say, and following on from that reason, here's what will happen when you start using the 6-week 6-pack accelerator offer, the trading offer, the sports offer, the language offer. Here's what is going to happen. Week 1, you're going to have a breakthrough. You're going to look the best you've ever looked. You're going to feel the best you've ever, blah, blah, blah. Right. Now, this is something that I use very often in VSLs, the pattern interrupt. And here, you add in an abrupt pattern interrupt that stands out. And if they've begun to drift off, it pulls them back into the present moment and makes them pay full attention once again. So for example, you might say, but stop, because I can hear your bullshit detector ringing louder than the scream of an African banshee. Okay. I actually used that exact line in my WB trading VSL, made us millions of dollars. Really worked well. And it can help to add in just 2 or 3 swear words throughout a VSL, if it's appropriate. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Because swear words trigger emotional arousal in the brain. And again, they increase attention. So this whole thing is to increase attention. If I say to you, fuck off, right now, my apologies for swearing, but it will have pulled you back into the present moment. And it will have triggered emotional arousal. It might not make you fall off your chair, right? But swear words make you pay close attention. I won't go any deeper than that, or else this will turn into a psychology video. You can research it if you like, but pattern interrupts, just 1 or 2 or 3 swear words can go a long way if it's appropriate. I'm not saying to just swear in your VSL. Additional proof. So here you'll share more proof to further cement that this is easy, it's safe, anyone can do it. And you're going to share unarguable types of proof. Again, bank statements, press articles, testimonials, video footage. This can really help towards the end of a VSL, just to reaffirm that it's safe, it's proven, you've got proof that you've done this and that other people have done this and they can do it too. Transition to the pitch for the call and give a call to action. Here, you'll transition to your pitch for the sales call that you want them to book, if you're doing a book a call VSL, or to a call to action to buy, if you're writing a VSL where people buy, right? Before giving them a call to action. So, for example, you might say, I've created the 6-week 6-pack program that will help you to get in the best shape of your life, just like I have. And I call it, again, the 6-week 6-pack accelerator thing XYZ blah blah blah. And by booking a call below, I will be able to share with you exactly how it works, how you can get the outcome, how you can have a 6-pack in 6 weeks from now, no matter where you're at, and we can go deep on how that's going to be done. You can ask me questions, I can make sure that you're a good fit, because not everybody is, and we'll go from there. Okay, something like that. I'm just purely making this up on the spot, right? But you're going to then roll into the call and sell the call, okay? And that's a nice way to just transition from the VSL kind of intro information section into what you actually want them to do, which is to book a call, okay? Another great building block is this, risk reversal. So here, you insert your money back guarantee, if necessary, in the context of your offer, or justify the reason for the sales call. All right. One reason that I found to work well is explaining it's actually not a sales call. And whilst you will share more info on how you can help them, it will be a valuable call either way. So you might say something like this. Okay. I've created a program that will help you to get a 6-pack in a very short amount of time, in a very easy manner, just like I have myself. And I call it the 6-week 6-pack accelerator. And by booking a call below, what I'll be able to do, okay, is share more info on how this will help you to get in the best shape of your life, lose up to 25 pounds, okay, in again, just 6 weeks. And I just want to share with you, this is not a sales call. This is a discovery call where I get to know you, you get to know me, we can go deep on what this is and how it works. If it's a good fit, I'd love to welcome you into the program. And if it's not, well, this is going to be a very valuable call for you, whether you come on board or not. All right. So can you see how we've actually stitched both of those together there? And how nice and simple and succinct that sounds. Now here's an obvious one for you, call to action. So here you insert your second and final call to action. For example, you might say, just below this video, you'll see a button that says, book your free strategy session now. And what I want you to do is click that button and book in a call with me right now. Sounds simple, all right? But I've seen VSLs in the past where people don't even tell people to book or how to book. It's so stupid. So this is common sense that most people don't have, all right? So it might seem simple. Most people don't do it, so do it. It's very important to be very direct, okay? Next is urgency. So here, you'll add some final urgency before wrapping up. For example, you might say, like I said earlier, this window of opportunity won't last forever, and the doors are quickly closing. This is a brand new discovery, and others will pile on as they too discover this for themselves. You must act now if you're going to make use of this. These strategies will not work forever. This method will not work forever. This unique opportunity is not going to be around forever, so you must take action now. And the final building block to share with you is this, the final future pace. So here, you'll share your final future pace, which will align with your ideal prospect's desires, causing them to focus on what they'll achieve by working with you or investing in your product or your service. So for example, you might end by saying this: there are better times ahead, and you will soon be able to earn up to 6 figures from the comfort of your home, just using your laptop or your phone, just like I have and just like others have too. This is the start of a wildly larger income, more freedom, and fulfilling your dreams. So take action, book in your call with me now, and I can't wait to make this a reality for you, right? So we're future pacing what we're going to do for people. Sometimes this is something that works well, sometimes it's not. It depends on the context of your VSL and how it's appropriate to wrap it up. Okay, so this may not work for, let's say, a high-level sports offer or something like that, right, where it's less lifestyle related. And there you have it. So those are the most common and most effective building blocks behind high converting VSL scripts. And with those covered, what I'm going to do in the next video is walk you through the actual script that I wrote for one of my one-to-one coaching clients, Nathan. This VSL, it actually made him more than this. It made him a good few $100,000. And as an exercise, see if you can spot some of the building blocks from the above list as we cover the script. Okay, guys? Just see which ones of these you can find and which you can spot. And if you can spot a few, then that is going to really start to cement these things in. And quite honestly, you should be happy when you start to spot these, both in the next VSL that we're going to cover and the others that you watch in the future as well.
Now, next, let's talk more about how to write a VSL. Okay. Now, I'm going to firstly give you some tips and pointers on structure and presentation and things like that. And then after that, I'm going to actually walk you through a real life script of something that I've just literally finished writing for one of my coaching clients. And I don't think I'm going to read it all to you, but I'm going to generally move through it and tell you why I've said this, why I've said that, why this is in here, why this isn't in here, blah, blah, blah. So to begin with, what is a VSL? Right now, a VSL is essentially, it's one component of a funnel. And the whole point of a VSL is to sell the call. All right. It's not to sell a product. It's not to tell people about pricing. It's not to, the bottom line is somebody should watch that VSL, resonate with you and your message. There should be a gap that's widened. Okay. And I'll explain what that is in a second. And they should feel like, wow, this person understands me. This is exactly what I want. This is what I need. They've perfectly described where I am now. I believe that this person can get me to where I want to be, okay, and can solve my problem. You've told them what their pain is, articulated that well, and really kind of sold them on your method, your mechanism, okay? And if you can do that, they are then going to want to book a call. And if they book a call, you can then get them closed. Okay. Now, always remember Nesba. Now, this is something that I learned from one of the best copywriters on earth, who's made millions and millions and millions of dollars. He's called Kyle the Copywriter, and he wrote a book called what was it called? Take Their Money. Okay. Take Their Money, Kyle Milligan. So this is the book, and this book is a real game changer. I strongly encourage you to read the book and also check out Kyle's YouTube as well. And you're going to learn a lot from that. But the main thing that he covers is this concept. This is what people want. Okay. People want something that's new, easy, safe, and big. Now, when it comes to a VSL, if you are talking about something that they already know about, they're going to tune out because they're going to be like, oh, it's just that thing. I've heard about it before. I've gone down that road. Forget that. But if it's new and they've never heard of it, they're going to be like, oh shit, damn, maybe this is the answer, right? Easy, it has to be easy because people don't want to do things that are hard. They just don't want to do things that are hard. Okay, so it has to be push button, easy, I've done it, it's not hard, blah, blah, blah. There's a term, there's a saying that says, sell people what they want, give them what they need. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. Sell them what they want first, or else they're not going to buy. Then in the program, give them what they actually need and get them the result. Okay. It also has to be safe. So nothing, what's a good example of this? Testimonials can really help with this. This person did it and this person did it and this housewife did it and this banker did it and this 18-year-old kid did it, blah, blah, blah. So it's safe. Anyone can do it, right? And it's also a big opportunity. You can make 6 figures with this in 30 days, blah, blah, blah. Things like big claims with evidence behind them. Now, second to that, if you're shooting an in-person VSL, make sure that you align your clothing, your hairstyle, your environment with your target client, with your target audience. Okay, so if you sell the dream lifestyle to younger people, let's say Iman Gadzhi style, then you're going to have to be well-dressed, wear a nice watch, film with like a t-shirt or a polo shirt, something that a younger person would kind of align with, but that's still smart, in a nice office, or a lounge with a very professional setup. So it just looks like you are what they want. They want a nice watch, you've got one. They want to live in a $2 million nice apartment, you live in that apartment, blah, blah, blah. If you sell a consulting service, on the other hand, then wear a blazer, wear shoes in a nice office with, some kind of really nice, breathtaking view like Sam Ovens. That was a really great example. Wear a nice watch, style your hair, blah, 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 right? I won't read all of this, but just think tribe, think stereotype, right? Remember, stereotypes exist for a reason. Birds of a feather flock together, right? If you're in a London street gang, you don't wear a Hawaiian fucking shirt. You wear all black, trainers, probably a cap pulled down low. You've probably got short hair with a fade on your back and sides. That's the tribe. That's the look. That's how you fit in, right? And you have to do the same for your audience. Also, never ever make what you're selling out to be difficult. So this comes back to the easy point that we've just covered. If you have to do it, then after doing so, mention that you found a secret way to do it that doesn't involve any hard work, or a new way that's fast and easy with no risk. Now, I know that this sounds scammy, okay? But if people get the slightest feeling that hard work is involved, they're not going to buy. They're going to be scared off. If you say to someone, look, I can help you build a 100K per month business, but it's going to take 3 years, man, that is going to be hard to sell. That is going to be extremely hard to sell. But if you say to someone, dude, I can make you 100 grand in 5 days, proven, guaranteed, and you can actually substantiate it, dude, you're going to close 99% of people. You've got to find that middle ground and get as close to easy, fast, safe as possible that you can actually deliver on. Okay. Again, people want new, easy, safe, and proven. If they have the remotest idea that they might have tried this before, they're not going to buy. If they feel that it's difficult to do, they're not going to buy. If they consider for a second that it might be risky or unsafe, they're not going to want to buy. So just keep that in mind. Next, use stories to remove people's objections and enter the story in their head and or what they are likely to be thinking or telling themselves as they watch, right? Now, this is a skill that you're going to have to develop where you write a script and then you read it back from a viewer perspective. You've got to imagine that you are watching your own VSL and you don't know you don't know your product. What are you thinking, right? So if let's say you say in your VSL, I can make you 100 grand in 5 days. Now, if you saw that in a VSL, what would you think? You'd think that is highly unlikely. I don't know anyone that's ever done that. That's probably bullshit. this guy is probably a liar, blah, blah, blah. So you've got to work that into your VSL. So you might say, look, I can make you 100 grand in 5 days. And by the way, I know that you're probably thinking, this is BS, right? This is impossible. So let me prove it to you. My client, Nick, blah, 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 blah. My client, Stephen, blah, 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 blah. Myself as well. I did this. Here is one of my bank statements. Here's one of my trading statements. So now you can see that this is actually possible and blah, 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 right? And you might also be thinking, well, maybe this bank statement is fake, right? So let me open my bank account right now on a screen share. Look, I'll refresh it. You can see that it's real, problem solved, onto the next part of the script. That's why in a lot of make money VSLs, you'll see people show their Stripe account and refresh the screen as well. And just things like that. So if you make a bold claim, just make sure that you substantiate it as you would want someone to do to you. Okay. So for example, I used to be skeptical of all this online business stuff. And I used to think, is this really possible? And what will people think if they find out I'm thinking of trying this? But then after I decided, hell, what do I have to love? And what do I have to lose? And I went for it. I made this in my first 14 days and blah, 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 and proof and blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm sure that you understand that. Also, this is really important. Use pattern interrupts wherever possible. Don't overuse them, but if you can add in just one, let's say a swear word here, or an analogy there, or something funny or engaging, it's going to keep the viewer's attention and help them to maintain their focus whilst watching. So for example, in my own VSL, at one stage, I say something like, now let's just cut the shit because blah, blah, blah. And on screen, there's a picture of scissors and then an emoji poo next to it. And you can, by the way, you can go and watch that by clicking this link in the script. And it's just a nice segue between points. And it's kind of funny and it, grabs people's attention, keeps them watching. And that kind of thing can work really well. Next, tonality. Man, this is so important. So important. Make sure that you don't sound commercial or like a robot or like a presenter. Just speak as if you're talking to a friend in a bar, right? Natural, confident. And also make sure that you vary your pitch and your speed as well. Now, refer to my VSL for a good example of this, because one of my strongest natural skills is this kind of thing, variance in tonality, speed, cadence, all that kind of thing, pausing, going up, going down, and just saying things with like a bit of a lighter tonality and varying your pitch, things like that. That's how you deliver a good VSL, and you speak down to earth, confident, that kind of thing. You learn it more with experience, right? But we all know when someone is speaking like they're on a commercial. It's like, hi, my name is this. Would you like to achieve this? That kind of shit, it's terrible. It's really terrible. And that's just going to throw prospects off. And they're almost going to know that they're being sold to, which is going to damage your conversion as well. Now, next point, the shorter the better. But if it has to be long, that's okay. So if you have things that you absolutely need to say and explain in a VSL, that's no problem. Okay. But remember, people have short attention spans. So you've got to use techniques like tonality, pattern interrupts, great slides to keep them focused, and keep the video as short as physically possible. Okay. Also, a hack for you that I've used in the past: when your video's done, put it in a video editor and speed it up by 0.1x. And that's going to shave a few minutes off the length. But just make sure that it doesn't affect your vocal tonality. Okay. It's going to throw people off. Next, always remember, a VSL is not about you at all. It's not about you. It's about the person watching and getting them to book a call. Don't go on about you. Don't go on about your product and any of that. Okay. And for God's sakes, don't mention pricing or discounts or anything salesy, or you're instantly going to break trust. Keep in mind, again, that this is all about them, the viewer, the prospect, and their wants and needs, the pain that they are here to solve. Okay. Remember, the whole purpose of a VSL is to press on the pain, present an NESB solution, and do not reveal the real solution. Okay, keep it hidden, so that they have to keep watching and kind of waiting for you to explain. Then tell them indirectly that they can solve the problem and reach their goals, but they need to book a call with you to do so. And I'll show you an example of this in a minute. Next, use loops and do not close them. Okay, now this will keep people watching. So for example, you might say, and to map out the steps that I walk through to do that, well, let me just get straight to the point because I know that your time is valuable. If you're someone who hates their job, blah, blah, blah. Now here, you've told them that you will map out the steps to solving their pain and or their problem, but you haven't done it yet. That is a loop. So now they're thinking, man, when is this guy going to tell me the steps? You know, just tell me the fucking steps. And they have then gone into the loop, which you're not going to close, which keeps them watching. And I've also written that into this script as well that I'll show you in a minute. Finally, make sure that you widen the gap. Now, this is critical. If people believe that they can do it themselves without you, they are not going to buy. But if people believe that this seems like a sure thing, or you've got something that they want or that's going to help them and it's free or whatever, and they trust you, then you can basically bridge the gap between their lack of knowledge and their dream outcome. And they are then going to buy from you, or at the very least, they're going to book a call with you to take the next step, right? Now, again, this is a script down here that I've written for one of my clients. And I'm just going to pull out a few bits and explain this. So, hi, my name's Nathan. I'm the founder of a 7-figure business that just a few years ago allowed me to bid farewell to the soul-destroying rat race that many of us get stuck in. And the crazy thing is, and you're probably not expecting me to say this, but setting the business up and growing it was one of the easiest, simplest, and fastest things I've ever done. So in the first few seconds, we've already done a lot of work here. So we've introduced the guru, essentially. I'm the founder of a 7-figure business. So basically, I'm rich. You're probably not rich, so you should be listening to this. That just a few years ago allowed me to bid farewell to the soul-destroying rat race that many of us get stuck in. This is basically saying, I'm rich and I got out of the rat race. You are probably still in that soul-destroying rat race that many of us get stuck in, like most people are stuck in it, right? So therefore, you are in the right place here if you want to make more money. And the crazy thing is, and you're probably not expecting me to say this, but setting the business up and growing it was one of the easiest, simplest, and fastest things I've ever done. New, easy, safe, big. So just within the first few seconds, we've hit pretty much every one of those NESB points, right? And we've glued people in. I'm rich, you're not. You're probably stuck in the rat race. You probably want to get out of it. Oh, and by the way, getting out of it is really, really easy and fast and simple. Now we're going to open a loop. And to map out the steps that I walk through to do that, well, let me just get straight to the point because I know that your time is valuable. Open the loop, have not closed the loop, into the next part. So here we're identifying the prospect. If you're someone who hates their job, who on a Sunday afternoon feels that bone-chilling anxiety of yet another week stuck in a job that you hate, or to make someone else rich. If you're someone who wants to take their family on that holiday that you promised you'd deliver on, but you still can't afford, or buy themselves that car that you've always dreamed or that car that you've always dreamed of that you, again, still can't afford, that you've always dreamed of, that you, again, still can't afford. If you're lacking freedom, and let's be honest, you want to make money as fast and as easily as possible, then you might just have found the answer. So here we're saying, if you have any of these problems, you're in the right place, basically. And where people are going to start thinking, oh shit, that is me. You know, that is me. I feel that anxiety. I want to buy that holiday that I can't afford. This is me. I'm in the right place. Let me explain what I'm talking about. And to do so, I'll start with my story. Again, what are we doing? Use stories to blah, blah, blah. So all we're doing is just we're hitting all of these different points throughout the VSL script. So then we share our story. Okay, and we basically use Nathan's story to essentially get into their head and just say, look, I was where you are. I wanted to be rich. I didn't really know how to be rich. I fucked around. I made some mistakes. But in the end, I got there. It's like Russell Brunson calls it the hero's journey. You know, I was where you are. I wanted what you want. I've actually got there now. You still haven't got there now. So I can probably help you get there, you know? So blah, blah, blah. I started a service company. What happened? Well, that was 4 years ago now. And in the end, it ended up taking me 5 months to make my first sale because I didn't know how to do it. This is basically saying to them, look, if you go it alone, this is probably going to happen to you. It's probably going to take you 5 months to make a sale because you have no direction. You have no knowledge. You have no money, blah, 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 right? I now know that you don't need to do any of that. So now we're saying to them, like, they're going to start thinking, oh shit, maybe I don't need to do any of that then. You know, if Nathan says that, well, maybe I don't need to do that. You don't need to do cold calling. You don't need lots of money. You don't need all of the hard stuff. There's an easier way. Nesba, easy, right? In fact, I've shared my secret to doing it all in a matter of just days with a couple of friends over the last few months, and they've been able to hit 5 and 6 figures in less than 30 days. We're saying to them, you can do that too. And by the way, yes, I did just say you could make 6 figures in less than 30 days, and I'll prove it to you in a second. We've opened up another loop here that we're not going to close, okay? So you can see what we're doing here. We're slowly doing all of this stuff throughout the VSL, right? So where am I? So let me come back up here. Yeah, you don't need to do any of that. Coming back to my point, using what I've learned, if we fast forward to the present day, I now run a very successful company. Basically, I've got the result now. Each day I wake up and my life is amazing. My old life is just my old life. My new life is a dream. Now, here, we bring them into the dream. So we say to them, now, picture this for me, because I want you to experience that feeling for yourself. Imagine that feeling of joy, freedom, never wanting for anything, waking up every day knowing that with every passing month, 5 to 6 figures will hit your bank account predictably and repeatedly. Imagine checking your bank account and seeing over 6 figures sitting there, ready to be invested, ready to buy that dream car, all of the stuff that you want, but you haven't got yet. Now we're going to enter the conversation in their head. Be honest with yourself for a second. Lay aside your skepticism, because we know they're probably feeling skeptical, and allow yourself to dream. If all of what I've just said came true for you, how would that make you feel? Now, if you're wondering what the hell's bells pattern interrupt a service company is, or what it does, or how you might be able to set one up and jump to the 6-figure per month mark as quickly and easily as I mentioned is possible. Again, Nesba, quick, easy, safe. That's where I might be able to help. I went from stuck in life and I hated it, stressed, lost, looking for a way out. I made every mistake in the book, but in the end I got there. All the mistakes aside, I did one thing right. Now here we're giving them the call to action and making them an offer. I documented every step that I took. I documented the things I did right, the things I did wrong, by going it alone and trying to figure it all out on my own. So we're saying to them, don't do that. And through all of that, I've put together a 3-step process that anyone can follow. In fact, if you're watching this right now and you're thinking, I'd love to achieve what this guy has achieved, the time freedom, the financial freedom, all of it, this is for you. So we've called out to our ideal person, said, you probably want this, and if you do, you're in the right place. I call it the service industry blueprint, and believe it or not, I promised you I'd deliver, didn't I? I'm going to hand it over free of charge for the first 25 people who book in a strategy session call with me over the next 10 days. Because I know that if I can just stop even one person from making all of the mistakes that I made, wasting all of the money I wasted, the fulfillment I'll take from that will be worth the small time commitment on my part. So here, we're justifying the call. Because what are people thinking? Why is this guy giving away free calls? Why is this guy taking up his time for me? You know, what does he get out of it? We've now answered that, and we're going to answer it again in a minute. So just below this video, you should see a book a call button. I want you to click that button right now, book a call with me, and on the call, I'll hand over the blueprint for you, personally walk you through each step that you need to take, blah, blah, blah. And don't worry, the sales call is completely free, and it is not a sales call. So why am I taking up my time doing these calls over the next 10 days? Well, it's actually pretty simple. I know that if I speak with 25 people and hand over all the value that I have to share, 1 or 2 of those people might also want my personal help and guidance, which I do charge a fee for. But again, if you just want to jump on a call, speak to someone like me who's achieved what you want to achieve, and who makes over 100 grand a month, take my blueprint from me and go it alone. That's no problem at all. So now we've said, look, here's why I'm doing it. Here's the value of booking a call. I'm going to give you a blueprint. You can talk to me. I'm a successful entrepreneur. So they're thinking, right, I've got a reason for the call now. So this makes sense. The skepticism's gone. And I'm going to speak to someone who's achieved exactly what I want to achieve. This is very valuable. This is very valuable. So now I'm going to book a call. Now we give them the call to action again. Hit the book a call button, blah, blah, blah. Get on a call. It's really not as hard as people out there want you to believe. The minute you have the blueprint, you'll know that to be true. I'll leave you with this. If I can do it, anyone can. I hated my life. I hated my job. I lived in stress and anxiety and fear. I got through it all. I now own a business that's easy and fun to run, that adds 6 figures per month to my bank account. On our call together, I'll show you exactly how I did it so you can do the same. Blah, blah, blah. So we're just kind of saying, again, I've done this, so it is physically possible, right? You're going to speak to me on the phone, and I'm going to tell you how and the why and give you the blueprint, blah, blah, blah. It's going to solve all of your pain, and it's going to get you the result that you want. So what have we just done there? We have widened the gap. And there you go, that's it. So that is Nathan's script. And if that doesn't work, I'll eat my hat. That might not be the number one best VSL of all time, but it works. It's got what it needs to have, basically, which is all of these things that we've just covered up here. So I hope that video helps. Just to kind of, share with you some credibility from myself. I've written many long-form webinars in the past that have taken days and weeks and months of effort and iteration. The last webinar that I ran made about $2.5 million. And then straight after that, I wrote Our VSL, which you can watch here, and that's made over $5 million. I've written a lot of different bits and bobs in the VSL webinar world, helped a lot of people with it. Again, physically done it myself and made almost $10 million in a couple of different formats, webinar and VSL. This stuff just works. This stuff really does just work. So again, hope that helps. If you have any questions, just ask. And yeah, this is really going to help you and add a lot of value.